Oh man, today's definitely going to be a hot one for me, close to 100 degrees, and happy 4th of July, everyone out there. Hopefully y'all are doing great. I got a short little video for you all. Probably going to be under 15 minutes for today, maybe even under 10 minutes. I tend to ramble on, but today is starting out as a great day. Right now it is 11:18 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. About to eat some good food for lunch in about an hour. Then I got some filet mignon for dinner with a lobster tail. Ooh, yes. Hanging out with some good friends, some family members later tonight. Hopefully you all are doing the same. If you are not celebrating the 4th of July, if you are in a different country, then whatever you're doing today, I hope it's the best and you're having a great and fun, safe weekend. Not to mention, I'm whipping out my Jimmy Buffett shirt for today. Yeah, it's definitely a doozy. Gonna do a little bit of cardio today out in the heat, like kind of like a dum-dum, but it's gonna be a good time. No, it's gonna suck. Okay, so I want to talk about SoFi for a little bit and also AMD, of where both of them could potentially go next week. If you are new here, welcome. I'm a SoFi bull, and I'm also a AMD bull as well too. Short term, I am also bullish on SoFi, and short term, I'm also bullish on AMD despite the massive pullback from near $600 per share. We'll get to that. We'll get to AMD in the second half of the video, but if you enjoy my content, I make videos Monday through Friday on this channel. Sometimes I post videos on Saturday. Today is definitely a bonus episode. Smash the like button, subscribe for more entirely free. I'm a real person. I'm retail, baby. I'm not a Wall Streeter. I don't really use AI in my videos. I keep things very real. Don't really do a lot of editing around here, so water cheers. Because when it comes to the stock market, I really feel that talking from your heart and not necessarily having a script and just really telling how things really are, it's the best way to really conduct business, in my opinion. Other people have their different beliefs, but I have mine. And let's get to SoFi. So, what you see on the screen right here is the 5-minute chart. Every one of these candlesticks is 5 minutes. Obviously, we ended up having definitely on Thursday, Friday, the market was closed yesterday. We definitely had very much a push down. Typically, when there is a 4-day weekend, so for anyone that is fairly new to the stock market, I've been in the market now since 2020 March, and I have stayed in the market since. I haven't left the market. I have stayed in the market. There's been a lot of bad times for me, I'm not gonna lie. 2023 was, it was a bum pounding. But overall, if you are going to be in the stock market for the long haul, you need to understand that typically holiday weekends, primarily before, it is really a hit or miss. Typically, volume tends to be very low, leading up to a holiday weekend. If there's a lot of geopolitical stuff happening, like hopefully Iran and the US is pretty much done now, typically over a long weekend, a lot of people are fearful, so you definitely have traders selling out of their positions. You can also have maybe long-term investors maybe not really wanting to step in because maybe on Monday, we're going to go lower so people can pick up discounted shares more for the future. And the same thing applies to trading as well, too. Me personally, I'm a long-term investor in SoFi. I'm also doing a public profile challenge. If you watch my videos from 2 days ago, you can see my public profile for this YouTube channel. I don't think I'm going to get around to showing it in this video, but probably on Monday I will. But otherwise, on SoFi, just going off the charts, because here is the thing about SoFi for this week. So, economical data. We don't really have too much economical data really planned for this week. Monday, nothing really too crazy. I mean, we don't have any inflation reports, and that's really what the market primarily wants, is pretty much inflation reports. We are 25 days away from the next Fed governor meeting. Obviously, there's a really good chance of a no rate hike, and there is 0% chance of a rate cut. My optimistic view is that we're not going to be getting rate hikes at all this year because oil is definitely down below of where it was over a month ago. Oil right now $68 a barrel. It will show on inflation. It will definitely bring it down. It's just going to take some time. But with SoFi, I do want to talk about this. So SoFi schedules conference call to discuss basically their earnings. Now, it's kind of really humorous because TradingView is very much a lagger in a way when it comes to earnings. This was actually showing SoFi's earnings being as for August for a while. Now that SoFi actually gave a definitive date of Wednesday, the 29th, July, that is when they're going to be dropping earnings. But this is something very interesting too. So SoFi is dropping their earnings the day of the next Fed governor meeting. So, I mean, okay. The previous earnings for SoFi, or honestly, I think it was 2 earnings ago, they actually ended up doing their earnings 2 days after the Fed governor's meeting. And I was talking about how bullish it actually was. It ended up tending to be a little bearish because they ended up going down. But the reason why they ended up going down is primarily because of geopolitical events, which ultimately tied into inflation. Now, I do understand the logic of having your earnings, let's say, a couple days after the Fed governor meeting, but having it the day of and before, that tells me that Anthony Noto is probably already assuming that, one, we're not going to be getting any rate hikes, and the day of the Fed governor meeting, we're probably going to see the percentage chance for a rate hike pretty much just diminish. So that's pretty much the reason why I feel that Anthony Noto is doing their earnings the day of, is because they are automatically assuming that the Fed governor is going to come out and say, hey, we are not going to be raising rates. We're actually going to be leaving rates the same. Inflation is coming down, and we may not even address rate hikes at the end of this year. Maybe we could very well be looking at 1 rate cut by the end of this year, or something super bullish like that. There's a better chance of us getting 0 rate hikes this year and 0 rate cuts than there are us getting 0 rate hikes and 1 rate cut. Okay? The base case right now for me personally, and the way that I'm really viewing my strategies, is that we are getting 0 rate hikes and we are getting 0 rate cuts. Okay? That's the base case. If we get a rate cut or multiple rate cuts, that is like a super, that is very much a bullish case. But pretty much my base case is what I really think is going to happen. And I think that's probably what SoFi is really thinking too. So, for this week, pretty much for SoFi, it's just going to be following technicals. It's going to be following momentum. Obviously, we just challenged a double top of 1850-ish in a way of where we were back in the beginning of June. If we can stay above 1850, then we really got to get above where we were before earnings, basically pretty much 19 and 20. And we could very much trend very much higher and get into the low 20s before earnings. Nothing super bullish. Like, there's people that will probably say, like, hey, we need to basically pretty much be like $25 before earnings. That's very unrealistical. Looking on a different type of a averages, the Keltner channel, this is primarily more so momentum based. And if SoFi does gain a lot of momentum into earnings, how will they gain momentum? Because inflation reports are coming down, so CPI is going down, PCE is going down, PPI is going down, oil prices, gasoline prices are going down. So therefore, if all that stuff is going down, SoFi can build up momentum. So this week, or rather I should say next week, the week of July 6th up until July 10th, it's going to be a very momentum-driven week. If everything good happens in the Middle East, if oil continues to go down, then yeah, it's going to be a very positive momentum style of a week. And then the 13th through the 17th, more momentum, more reports are going to be coming out. So overall, I mean, it's definitely not like bad. We can definitely have a good rally into earnings. Okay, so AMD. I want to talk about AMD here. So basically, pretty much, we're on the weekly chart right now. We are just still. There is so much momentum on the weekly chart for AMD. Obviously, we were at $585. Now we've definitely moved down. If things get really, really bad for AMD, I mean, on a technical analysis basis, AMD could very much go to $392. You want to go on even a deeper technical analysis basis, AMD could very much go down to $266 for the 50-day moving average. That is a crash, okay? We go on the one-day chart for AMD. AMD theoretically could go to $457. If we look at the Keltner channel here, you're looking at AMD potentially maybe going down to $450-ish. So why don't I believe AMD is going to crash? I've talked about this so much, and I talked about this in yesterday's video too. When you have a stock that is overbought on technical analysis, which means it is way above the moving averages, if the stock has the fundamentals to back it up, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to crash to the technical levels. If AMD was a penny stock and AMD had a short squeeze and there were no fundamentals, let's say AMD was not producing revenue like penny stocks do, that is when fundamental analysis fails, and that is when technical analysis victory. It wins. I just lost my thought process here. It friggin' wins, okay? AMD has the fundamentals to back the crazy overbought momentum. Why is that? Because the market, myself, and everyone that is a semi-bull, we know that AMD is going to have blowout earnings for the next several quarters. That is why technical analysis, it fails when it comes to AMD. Watch AMD go back to $585. Watch AMD go to $600 per share and be a $1 trillion company. Watch AMD go to $700 per share, but nightmare. AMD is so overbought on a technical analysis level. Yeah, they have the fundamentals to back them up. This is where technical analysis fails. This is where fundamental analysis prevails. That's a better word. Let's say it's a penny stock. Penny stock, fundamental analysis fails because they're not producing any revenue or they're at negative revenue. Technical analysis prevails. AMD could very well be $600 per share by the end of the week. That's how crazy this rally is in AMD. Just, if you are a long-term investor like me in AMD, obviously on one profile, my average is way below $200. I was buying AMD below $100 on Liberation Day. On my public profile, my average, I believe, is like 210 or 205. It doesn't faze me. You know, this little pullback in AMD that we saw this week of nearly 20%. Honestly, how much of a pullback do we have this week on AMD? This week on AMD, you're talking 583. I want to wrap up the video right here. 583. We're at, oh my gosh, 11%. Yeah, that's nothing. If you are nervous about AMD and you're an AMD bull, I'm not a financial advisor, but I'm not friggin' nervous. I know what's coming for AMD. So do a lot of other AMD bulls out there. So yeah, understand that we got the fundamental analysis to back AMD up. That's the thing about it. On a closing note, once again, happy 4th of July. Hopefully everyone is doing great. I will see you all on Monday with a brand new video. Otherwise, take it easy, everyone, and later.